top of the morning, and it is a beaut.
And the hope of the Irish as the future champion of the world.
A podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio.
Welcome to the Barry J. McDonald podcast. The place where dreams get dusted off and acted on. Because life is too short. We're living on a rock that's flying through space. And hey, what the hell else were you going to do with yourself here?
Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to today's podcast episode. Now, have you ever given that question any thought? You know, what happened to that kid who was all bright-eyed, full of dreams, full of goals, who had no problem, walking up to a complete stranger when they were asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? We had no problems telling them, we're going to be an astronaut. I'm going to be a scientist. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to be in TV. I'm going to be a movie star. And yet, somewhere along the way, we lost the spark. It's amazing that when you think that kids are far bigger dreamers than adults are. Where once we lived in a world that was full of opportunities, we could do whatever we wanted to do. Slowly over time, it got narrow and narrow and narrower, and we just settled for a lot less. In my own case, I was stacking shelves in a local store. Now, never at any point when I was a young kid did I ever dream or ever want to have a job of stacking shelves. And yet, that was where I ended up. And sometimes when we end up in these places, we just resign ourselves that that's the way it's always going to be. I'm always going to be like that. I'm never going to achieve those goals. But can you imagine for a moment, right? If the younger version of you got into a time machine and saw where they ended up. I don't know about the younger version of you, but I know the younger version of me will be horrified to think that this is all I can do, that this is all I can achieve, just stacking shelves for a living. I don't know about you, but I think the younger version of me would probably be screaming his lungs out. And I know we can blame, a lot of things for where we end up. Sometimes life just gives us a curveball we don't see coming. Sometimes it's negative programming. Sometimes maybe bad education. Sometimes, it's the government. And sometimes we're just turned into a worker drone that is just becoming a small cog in a large machine. And some of that is true. But did you ever think that maybe there should be a time right now where you should turn it around? That you shouldn't really settle for where you are? That instead of, the narrow point of the cone that you've come out with, how about maybe expanding again? How about dreaming a little bit larger? How about doing things for you now? How about, caring less what other people think of what you do and start concentrating more on your life? Not caring what other people's opinions are of you. Not caring what comments, reviews, or whatever people might nastily say about you. And actually start working on you. When you think about it, the younger version of us was a lot braver than the older version of us. All the times we fell over, all the times we banged our heads when we tried to walk, and yet we kept doing it over and over again until eventually we could stand up on our feet. All the years we were just, talking gobbledygook that nobody could understand, and until eventually we learned how to talk. And back then, when you think about it, the younger version of us was doing those things over and over and over and over and over again until they got it right. But the adult version of you, how many times do we try something before we give up? I remember reading one time where someone said that if you tried something twice, that you were in the minority. That the majority of people will try something once, and when they can't do it, they just give up. So, can you imagine facing the younger version of you? Imagine looking them in the eye and just seeing the spark going out of their eyes. That this is what's ahead of them. This is what you're settling for. Now, I don't know about you, but I think I'd feel guilty facing the younger version of me and saying to them, well, this is as good as it's going to get. I've given up on life. I've given up my dreams. I don't think I'll be able to do those things. I'm afraid of writing a book because I'm afraid of what other people are going to say about me. I'm afraid of recording a podcast because I'm afraid of complete strangers all over the world, what they're going to think of my voice, what they're going to think of me, and so I won't do it. I'm afraid of creating an online business, again, There's a lot of work in it. What if it goes wrong? How many times will I have to do it before I get right? Imagine saying that to the younger version of yourself. So again, going back to that question, when did you lose that spark? When did you give up on that dream? Now, you may feel a little bit guilty, but now could be a good time to maybe dust that dream off. To say, okay, maybe it was a little bit naive. Maybe I can't go into space now at the age that I am, or maybe whatever, health condition I have, I probably can't go into space. But there is some things you can do. You may have gotten narrowed down to a tiny little point where maybe you don't believe in yourself, or maybe you're suffering from lack of confidence and lack of self-esteem. But you can expand from where you are. You can stretch yourself. You can go a little bit more outside your comfort zone. You can try things that you never did before. Because as I said, the younger version of you was always doing things that it had never done before. Learned how to eat, learned how to talk, learned how to go to the potty. So, if the younger version of you was so brave and did all those things and actually succeeded eventually, don't you think you owe it to the younger version of you not to give up so easily? Because as I said, faced with the younger version of you, if that was what you were going to see coming down the line, that this was where you were going to end up in life, I'm sure they'd be really, really disappointed in you. So maybe you owe it to the younger version of you not to give up on them, to show them that, you can be a phoenix rising from the ashes, that you can turn your life around from where you are right now, that you can get out of your comfort zone, that you mightn't be able to follow on all those dreams you had back then, but at least you can maybe knock a few of them off the list, so that the younger version of you will have something to look forward to, rather than maybe what we have right now. Give that some thought today. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye. Would you like to know how I went from being a lowly shelf stacker, depressed, no confidence in himself, and how I went from that to becoming a popular children's author, and then on to even greater things, recording and selling my own digital products? If you'd like to find out how I did it, and if you would like to do the same yourself, if you head over to Writecom, that's WRITECOME.com, you'll find a great free report over there, which is called the Online Business Manifesto. And in that report, I'm going to show you the journey I went on from the beginning to where I am right now. And I'm going to show you the 3 business secrets I learned along the way. Now, these secrets aren't secrets that most people talk about. Some people don't even realise that they exist. So if you head over to Writecom, download the free report, you are going to be miles ahead of everyone else who has an online business. Have a lovely day, and I hope you enjoy this episode.